A new study from Finland raises some alarms about privacy on Apple devices. Another, a company again from Finland, finds a way to make concrete using CO2 emissions. Some leading edge and some legacy systems in the news, and a newsletter about our phone addiction strikes a nerve. All this and more on the Here Comes the Sun edition of #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. A new study out of Finland is raising some alarming questions about privacy on Apple devices like iPhones, iPads, and MacBooks. Researchers at Aalto University found that even when default apps like Siri, iMessage, and location services appear to be disabled, they are still collecting personal user data in the background without people's knowledge. Associate Professor Jane Linkvist says that getting rid of these data-collecting apps is virtually impossible since they're deeply embedded in the Apple platform and ecosystems. Linkvist says, due to the way the user interface is designed, users don't know what's going on. The user is given the option to enable or disable Siri, but enabling only refers to voice control. Siri collects data regardless, unless you dive into the settings. The researchers say properly protecting your privacy on an iPhone requires expert technical knowledge. When they had study participants trying to change their settings, none were successful in fully preventing data sharing, and the instructions were extremely confusing. While it's unclear exactly what Apple does with this collected data, the researchers suggest it may be used for training AI systems and providing personalized services. They recommend iPhone users opt for third-party apps like Firefox instead of Safari to reduce their data footprint with Apple. The study will be presented later this month at the prominent CHI Computer-Human Interaction Conference. A major breakthrough in making concrete production more environmentally friendly happened with a Finnish company that's launched the first commercial concrete products made using an innovative technology that captures carbon dioxide and stores it permanently in the concrete itself. The concrete industry is one of the biggest industrial sources of greenhouse gas emissions, responsible for around 8% globally, and most of those emissions come from the cement used to make concrete. And many expect those emissions to double by 2050. But a Finnish clean tech startup called Carbonade has developed carbon curing, a process that allows some of the cement to be replaced with recycled CO2. Their technology controls this process precisely to maximize the amount of CO2 that gets mineralized and permanently stored in the concrete. A Finnish concrete maker has now started commercially producing partition wall elements made from this new process, and up to 40% of the cement was replaced with captured carbon dioxide, cutting emissions by about the same amount, and by mineralizing the CO2 into the concrete itself, there was an additional 17% reduction in emissions. Cement manufacturing is the most polluting part of the concrete sector. Carbonade says their technology also allows concrete plants to reduce production costs by using less expensive recycled CO2 instead of cement, and it increases productivity by shortening curing times. The startup aims to make carbon-cured concrete available at the same or lower price as traditional concrete. As regulations tighten around industrial emissions, they say early adopters of decarbonization tech will be well positioned. IBM has installed the world's first quantum computer located on a college campus at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. The IBM Quantum System 1 is now up and running inside RPI's Voorhees Computing Center, which used to be a chapel on the university grounds. It will be available for use by RPI researchers, students, and outside partners. Speaking at the unveiling event on Friday, IBM CEO Arvind Krishna said putting quantum computers at universities could spark an explosion of innovation akin to the rise of the early internet around campus supercomputing hubs. While still early days for the technology, Krishna believes that having quantum computers at colleges will help train the next generation of quantum-focused workers and researchers to find new applications. Krishna said it really means the people who deeply understand what these machines are capable of. Imagine what they can do. RPI and IBM both stand to benefit, with the university attracting top researchers and students, and IBM eager to have researchers exploring uses for its quantum hardware. Though not yet achieving true quantum advantage over classical computers, IBM still plans to bring more quantum systems to other campuses nationwide to power computer science research breakthroughs. And we've been making arrangements for an interview on quantum computing in real-world applications for our weekend show, so keep an eye open for it. And just to take it from one extreme to another, there are a couple of quick stories that show that even as we leap forward to new and faster computing, there are still legacy systems that are deeply embedded in many of our companies. A story in Bleeping Computer pointed out that there are still over 92,000 D-Link network access storage devices, or NASs, that are in use and have an unpatchable backdoor that could allow anyone to gain access. When asked if they were going to issue an update, D-Link noted that the devices were at end of life and were no longer supported, yet 92,000 of them are out there with huge security flaws, one that we might assume the owners and operators might not even know about. And in case that didn't impress you, I ran across a story in Tom's Hardware that noted that the San Francisco train control system is so old it is run on floppy disks, a technology that goes back to the 1980s. This story was actually brought to light by a local TV station and hit the air with a reporter holding a 3.5-inch disc. And if you know what that is, you've been around for a while. Although, reading through the story, there's a possibility this system might actually use an earlier 5.25-inch disc. Now, no matter which one, this system, while still working fine according to a spokesperson, has well exceeded its 20 to 25-year lifespan. And not their words, but to anyone who's worked with this technology, it's inches away from a total system failure. The only problem is a replacement will take years to build and implement. And finally, a simple pitch from The Guardian, a British publication, struck a chord with readers. 5 emails to help you reset your screen habits and reclaim your brain. The Reclaim Your Brain newsletter quickly became the fastest growing newsletter ever for The Guardian, garnering over 139,000 subscribers so far this year. The newsletter shares tips from author Catherine Price to reduce unhealthy phone and other habits, alongside humorous diary entries from a Guardian columnist attempting the challenges himself. Max Benwell, an editor at The Guardian US, said the overwhelming reader response highlighted how many people feel miserable about how much time they spend on their phones. He said, "It's such a big elephant in the room. That's why we think we succeeded so much, because not many places have tried to tackle it so head-on and in a fun and accessible way." Carolyn Finney, a newsletter producer, said Reclaim Your Brain was The Guardian's first wellness-focused newsletter in the U.S., and its first experiment with an asynchronous newsletter course that can be continually promoted. The most successful promotion came from a striking Instagram post that allowed users to calculate how many days per year they spend on their phone. Benwell said the newsletter's success underscored the need to acknowledge the psychological toll that consuming a relentless news cycle can take. You don't want to gaslight readers by omission, by not having spaces where you can acknowledge the effect that the news cycle is having on us psychologically. And as I wrote today's show, I couldn't help but think of being out for a walk yesterday and feeling the overwhelming compulsion to check my phone. There are reasons I don't judge others. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a terrific Tuesday.